Please be seated. So on this first Sunday after Christmas Day, we are here. The presents by now have all been opened, right? The wrapping paper has been recycled or at least stuffed into bags. And some of us already, if we're honest with ourselves, are thinking about when to take down that Christmas tree, right? The world around us has moved on quickly. Department stores are already advertising the next season, the next big thing, Valentine's Day, or St. Patty's Day, maybe even green beer, Easter. But Christmas, it seems to has had its moment. It's already gone, it seems like. But here we are at St. Cuthbert's. On the Sunday after Christmas, we are still singing carols. We're still lighting the Christmas candle. And we're still proclaiming Merry Christmas. Perhaps that is a gift. Because the church, in her wisdom, refuses to rush us along. To rush along that frantic pace of the world. And for the next 12 days, for 12 days at least, and maybe more, we are invited not to move on too quickly, but to stay and linger for a while. To be in the moment. For today, instead of shepherds and angels, instead of a manger and a star, today we hear something far more cosmic. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. John pulls us all the way back. The Gospelist pulls us back to the very beginning of creation. For those of you who want to hear this aside, please do. And that is, there are 3 creation stories in the Bible. 2 in Genesis, not just 1 in Genesis, 2 in Genesis. Go back. If you doubt me, go back and check it and tell me. There's 2 in Genesis, and then there is the 3rd creation story in the Gospel of John. The creation stories of Genesis go back to Adam and Eve. But the creation story in John goes back to the Big Bang, to the very beginnings of creation, and how God spoke creation into existence. And John reminds us on this Sunday that before the rush of Christmas, before the noise of this season, before calendars are filling up, John says something astonishing. The Word became flesh and lived among us. The Greek word for that is eskenesun. I might have butchered it a bit. But the Greek word means God pitched his tent, made his dwelling, moved into the neighborhood. God didn't just pass in and then go away. God came and lingered and stayed and dwelt among us. God didn't make a brief appearance, stop by, and then move on. God stayed. And here's the scriptural truth counter to what the culture tells us to be true. As the world moves on to the next big thing, God stays. God lingers. The world teaches us to rush from one season to the next. Finish Christmas, pack it up, and what's next? But the gospel invites us to slow down, to linger, to sit with the mystery to remain with the Word made flesh. Friends, Christmas is not a season for hurry. This is a season for holding. You know, up to this time, we hear the Christmas story, we think about the birth of Jesus. We think about a young pregnant mother. And, you know, in the season of Advent, we see how that birth comes to fruition. And we hear about how we see this young pregnant mother, and then she gives birth, and then there is Jesus. And I'll tell you, it's interesting because I have 3 sons, one of whom is with us today, but 3 sons. And all of those births, though wonderful, was hard for my wife. I could never handle the pain that she handled giving birth. And I remember those experiences of labor as a witness. And I also remember that as she went through that pain, and as she was looking at me with anger at that pain, once each of the boys were born, there was no memory of the pain as much. She does use it for guilt later on with the kids. But in that moment, after each of them were born, as she held them, all she did was admire them, look at them, look for traces of our ancestors in their faces, looked at their delicate hands and legs, and marveled with wonder. Like a mother who does not rush her newborn into productivity, but stays, coos, washes, and listens, and loves, so too does the church invite us simply to be with Christ in this moment. As we linger with the gospel today, we find insight upon insight. One of the things that John tells us, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. Notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say that the darkness disappears. He doesn't say everything is suddenly easy and bright. Everything is perfect. No. He says the light shines. After the presents are opened, after the guests go home, and after the silence returns, light is still here. And that is good news for us, because many of us return to real life after Christmas, don't we? And that real life involves grief or worry or unresolved relationships. It might even involve exhaustion and frustration and a host of things. But Christmas doesn't erase those situations or things or feelings. Christmas meets them right then and there. John says, from his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. Not grace once, not grace for a moment, but grace layered upon grace. Enough for yesterday and today and tomorrow, and even for those frustrations that beset us. Friends, this season is not for striving, but for receiving. Receiving the gift of Christ. Receiving the gift of one another, receiving the quiet gift of being loved without earning it. So yes, it's okay to say Merry Christmas now. It's okay to call someone you didn't get a chance to call during the rush and say, you matter to me. It's okay to send a card late, even in this Christmas season. It's okay to pause before taking that tree down. Maybe linger a bit before it's light with a cup of cocoa or coffee and just a moment, enjoy the moment. because love doesn't run on a schedule, and grace is never late. John continues to give us insight in this wonderful reading from the gospel. He says, to all who have received him, he gave power to become children of God. Christmas is not only about what God has done, but it is also about who we are becoming, who you and I are becoming. Children of God. Children who trust. Children who receive. Children who learn that presence matters more than performance. The Word became flesh not to hurry us, but to heal us. Not to push us forward, but to draw us closer to God. So here is an invitation for this first Sunday after Christmas. Stay a little longer. Sit with the light. Let the Word dwell within you. Make one unhurried phone call. Offer one unrushed moment of kindness. Give yourself permission not to move on too quickly. Because the miracle of Christmas is not that God came along once, a long, long time ago in a distant land, but that God is still with us. Still dwelling, still shining, still offering grace upon grace. And that, my friends, is worth lingering over. Amen.